Welcome, everyone. I'm Lori Zimmerman, the Director of Professional Learning with MASA, and I am excited to welcome a group here today to talk about Teach Minnesota and how it might help us with some of our staffing issues that we might be facing. So, Angela, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself and your team and let you know if you do have questions as the presentation is going, please feel free to add them to the chat and we will let Angela and her team know.
Perfect. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for that introduction and for organizing this, both Lori and Dave. My name is Angela Wunderlich. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Regional Partnerships Manager for TeachMN. And we like to think of ourselves sort of as a conduit between prospective teachers here in Minnesota and any and all options for initial licensure to get more folks in the classroom and really finding the best fit for people. I'm excited to chat with you all about what that looks like today. But first, I'd be remiss if I didn't also loop in Greg, who is co-presenting with me.
Good morning, everyone. Greg Keith. I'm with the Minnesota Department of Education. I'm director of the Educator Workforce and Development Center, and we have been partnering with Teach and several of other entities around the TeachMN initiative. And one of the key partners in this is Pelsby. So I'll pass it to Erin to introduce herself. I don't think Erin's going to present today, but would love, Erin, if you would introduce yourself as a key partner in what's being shared today.
Sure. Thanks for the opportunity. My name is Erin Doan, and I'm the Director of Educator Preparation and Pathways at Pelsby. That's a lot of tongue twisting for this early in the morning, but happy to be partnering with MDE and with TeachMN. Lots of exciting things happening and can't wait for you all to hear more about them.
All right. Well, I will go ahead and share my screen for the presentation. As Lori mentioned at the beginning, it's a smaller group and we love questions. We'd love for this to be as interactive and useful to you as you see fit. So please feel free to come off mute, add things into the chat. Both Greg and I will try to monitor it as much as we're able. But for what we don't get to during the presentation, we'll leave time for questions after as well. So give me one moment to pull up, to share my screen and pull up this presentation, and we'll begin. So as I mentioned, TeachMN is a statewide recruitment system to elevate the perception of teaching and attract the next generation of Minnesota teachers. TeachMN's goals can really be broken down into three main parts. We want to reduce the teacher shortage, we want to improve the quality and diversity of the new teacher supply, and we'd like to raise the image of the teaching profession. Throughout today's presentation, you'll sort of hear about three different sort of pockets of our work. The beginning will be, how did Teach come to be? What is TeachMN? And just sort of what are the nuts and bolts of the platform we're working with. Then we'll go into a little bit about what is the impact of our work. So we have these resources. What does that look like on the ground in support of your work, especially in school districts? And then part three will sort of be the take home. You know, the best part about a presentation is not necessarily always the content, but also what are the deliverables. And so this will be exactly what you can take home today to help your teams, whether it's your HR teams, your current non-licensed staff in your districts, a lot of different folks, and we have resources available for you to take away from that. So that's sort of the flow of our time together today. So beginning with a little bit about what is teach.org, what is TeachMN, and how do we come to be? We began as an initiative with the U.S. Department of Education in 2015, but we spun off sort of at the end of 2015 into our own independent nonprofit. We're currently operating in 8 regions across the country. So you can see they're highlighted in the dark blue on this map. Our goal is to be in all 50 states, and TeachMN launched officially in April of this year of 2025 at the very end. So we're very new. Us and New Mexico are the 2 newest regions. And of course, some of our longest are in the Northeast, with Connecticut being the oldest. And we have a proven track record of helping increase the new teacher pipeline, and we have the lowest cost per outcome of any solution. So we're really grateful to, come alongside others in our work. And speaking of that, our model hinges on partnerships. So as Greg and Aaron outlined in their introductions, they are the lead partner with this teacher marketing and outreach campaign, of which TeachMN is some of the technical assistance and implementation. And I would also be remiss if I didn't highlight our dear partners at Elevate Teaching. They've been in Minnesota for many, many years with Rose Chu at the helm, doing really incredible work to raise the image of the teaching profession and inspire more folks to join. So they are also a part of this teacher marketing and outreach campaign. And from there, with the campaign, we look to support folks, sort of three different pockets of folks per se. One is our teacher preparation programs here in the state. Another is our school districts. And then we also have our stakeholder group. So these might be community-based organizations like Black Men Teach. And they also just might be any other nonprofit or organization that's really looking towards having more folks become licensed teachers and supporting them in that process. And of course, none of the work that we do could happen in a vacuum. We're not coming in to sort of rewrite processes and systems that are already in place. Instead, we just want to provide additional support. And the great thing about our model is that we have things that sort of remain a foundation, but we also get to work with districts or TPPs on strategies that might be really specific to their recruitment process. So there's not sort of a one size fits all approach. And just a little bit more briefly about the teacher marketing and outreach campaign. The vision from MD and Pelsby is around every student benefiting from a diverse, qualified, and thriving educator workforce. So as I mentioned, it's ourselves at TeachMN and Elevate Teaching, and some of our objectives include career awareness, workforce diversity, and just a profession that's highly revered, right? And some of that, along with sort of the reverence of the profession, comes along with a lot of support and guidance and more folks joining along. So it's also important to consider, how does TeachMN's work align with our need here in the state of Minnesota? So this report is pulled from Pelsby's 2023 biennial report on the supply and demand of teachers. And if you look at these numbers, it states that 95% of districts report having positions that are difficult to fill, and 72% of districts report that there are unfilled teaching positions due to a lack of qualified applicants. So this reflects that we need a robust teacher recruitment strategy, especially into teacher preparation programs or alternative ed pathways that result in licensure. And of course, the sad reality is this is not unique to Minnesota. We see this in every region that we work in, that there's a teacher shortage and sort of a need for an all hands on deck approach. So if you're willing, whether or not you want to come off mute or put it in the chat, I would love to sort of hear from you all, one or two words, how you would describe the teacher recruitment process in your district, how it's going, maybe how it's been, what's the current status of it. If you're able to drop it in the chat, or if you just want to think about it in your head, that's great too. All right. See, I see a few things coming here. Challenging, never enough to choose from. Yes, exactly. And thank you both. I thank all three of you for adding that in there. I think that's something that we hear a lot, and we're really looking to sort of not only support people that are already in the orbit of your district, but also to widen the funnel of who becomes a teacher in Minnesota, whether, they're coming from, maybe a mid-career change all the way to somebody that, we're inspiring more folks at the middle school and high school level to join the profession as well. So thank you for sharing. Now pivoting, we're going to talk a little bit about what exactly is TeachMN and how does it work. We're going to talk about the model and the implementation. So TeachMN operates sort of on this four-step process. It begins with inspiring folks to join the profession. And we do that through a lot of really specific marketing, through radio and TV PSA ads, digital ads, social media. We're really trying to cast a network to talk about how we talk about the profession, how we inspire folks to join, knowing that there's many, many, many different avenues to the classroom. So that's sort of our step one. Then step 2 is once we sort of catch wind of folks that are inspired, then we work to really identify those folks and take them to the next step through developed targeted marketing campaigns. And this really happens in collaboration with our state partners, with teacher preparation programs, school districts, and community-based organizations. Then from there, we work to continue to cultivate that relationship with these future teachers. By providing them tailored support towards applying to a teacher preparation program. And this support, we'll get into it, but it's everything from one-on-one coaching with a current Minnesota educator to financial aid resources to ongoing communication and learning guides. And these are all meant to support teachers through what we have identified as 10 perception barriers to teaching. And these perception barriers range from everything to, can I be good at teaching? Am I going to like it? Can I find a pathway that fits my interests and maybe my financial ability to pay for going back to school? Will I be supported? Will people look like me in the profession? These are all really real things that future teachers are facing that our supports are intended to target and help folks overcome. And then finally, from there, all this support kind of it culminates with removing sort of practical barriers to hitting apply to a teacher preparation program, which include, again, some of these financial aid resources, coaching, and more. So TeachMN partnerships, two of our biggest pockets of partnerships are our teacher preparation programs and our school districts. So our teacher preparation programs, our partnership looks like offering profiles on our website for each teacher preparation program. So we can be sort of a one-stop shop for somebody that wants to say, I want to teach in Minnesota, what are my options? We also offer program and event promotion, and we offer free tools and resources that their community can use as well as a part of their admissions and recruitment process. For our school districts, we are really looking to expand your HR capacity, and we'll do that in a couple ways. The first thing is through one-on-one and group advising on navigating the tiered licensure system. Everybody knows how nuanced this is, how tricky it is. And instead of sort of having that be a conversation that your HR team has to sort of continue and repeat, this is something that your HR team can send them to our coaches and say, can you help somebody become a licensed teacher in our district based on their path? And our coaches are ready to have those conversations. We offer licensure guides and an explorer tool. So depending on where you are, you might have a bunch of options for teacher preparation programs, and we can help folks identify what program might fit their needs to ultimately help them become licensed in your district. We also offer promotion of district-specific prep programs, grants, scholarships, also recruitment events that you might have, and we're able to promote that via our platform, our email, and our social media channels. And we have a teaching interest survey for non-licensed school staff and high school students that's really beneficial, where we can both work together to sort of identify and then support folks within your district who might be non-licensed yet, whether they're a student or a staff member, and support them to licensure. And I have more on that in a little bit. So we do this through sort of a wraparound system. We're a fully online platform, but I'm based in Minnesota, and so I travel around to recruitment events and just to meet with teams all over to say, how can we support your districts with this work. And once somebody subscribes with TeachMN, I should have emphasized from the get-go that TeachMN is completely free to use, whether you are a prospective teacher, whether you are an HR team in a district, whether you're a teacher preparation program, it is free. It will remain free. That's really important to our work. And then once you arrive on this, once you subscribe, it's a couple questions, it's entering your email. Then you have sort of a wraparound system that will provide you all sorts of supports. And you can see some of them here, and I'll dive into them more in a second. So beginning with our one-on-one and group advising, to me, this is one of the best resources we offer because it allows individuals, beginning with group advising, to have an introduction into what am I looking at with the tiered licensure system? How do I navigate it? How do I discover my options? That's sort of group advising. It's free to sign up. We do it every month. It'll be a little funky around the holidays, but typically it's the last Tuesday of the month from 5 to 6, and you can sign up right on our website. And we also can offer group advising specific to a district. So if your district says, all right, I have 100 non-licensed staff that might be interested, can we do a district specific group advising event? Great, we'd love to do it. And from there, you can do it in whatever order you want, but we also offer one-on-one advising with a current Minnesota educator that's trained through TeachMN, in partnership with Pelsby, on just advising folks on their individual path to becoming a licensed teacher. And so this is sort of what our sign up process looks like. What's great is that you can schedule on your own time. We make it so that, if you're not comfortable with a Zoom call, you also have options for a phone call or just to email and talk to a coach that way. Our coaching sessions are typically half an hour, but somebody could sign up as many times as they want to meet with a coach. And that we encourage that because you build rapport. And typically, we want to catch folks sort of on this early end of, I'm thinking of becoming a teacher. Tell me about your experience. What does that mean? How do I find a subject that fits my interest? But then you can connect with that same coach all the way until, saying, all right, I think I've identified a couple teacher preparation programs. Could you help me? Like, what are the best tips and strategies for tailoring my resume or for writing an admissions essay? What might I do? And so we really sort of encourage that, the longevity in our relationships with our coaches. um, I spoke a little bit about group advising already. And here's just a little snapshot on who our TeachMN coaches are. So we have Lavin Rada, who works for Lakes Country Service Cooperative. Lavin's amazing, and she is sort of our knowledge for all things CTE related. We have Sarah Hedge and Becky Gertis, who Becky is located in Rochester, Minnesota. Sarah is located in the Twin Cities. And I should say Lavin is up near the Fergus Falls area. And Sarah and Becky have many, many years as educators in special education, and Becky as well as some later elementary years in the class, or later elementary years in, teaching fourth, fifth grade in the classroom. And then Avery is elementary math. We also have two Spanish-speaking coaches that have just completed onboarding, and they are in both the middle school and elementary school ages. And we are continuing to expand our coaching pool as well to continue to increase sort of the subject area diversity, regional diversity, so folks can sort of choose somebody that's in line with what they're thinking of. But also all of our coaches are trained to speak to sort of the diverse options that our state offers. We also offer a teacher preparation program explorer tool. And to me, this also is a really vital tool for somebody, instead of trying to look at 36 different websites and options and try to narrow down what might be the best path for me, they can come on here and begin to filter almost right away. So if somebody is wanting to enter the teaching profession as a high school student, their pathway, as you know, is going to look much different than somebody that's maybe in their mid 40s and looking for a career change and already has a bachelor's and a master's degree. And so somebody can come onto our website, they enter a few pieces of information they're looking for, and then they'll see these profile pages of all of our teacher preparation programs, and more are being added almost weekly. And so we have a really comprehensive list already, and then a few more are still working on getting theirs in. But this is a way to see sort of a snapshot of the institution. What are the programs they offer? And so, if we take a look at this, this is a sample of one of our programs, and it's for Hamline University. It's their education major. You can see a little bit about the program info, what the duration is. Is it in person? Is it online? There's a way to scroll down and you can see all the licensure areas that are offered. And then from there, the final piece to this that is a huge support for applicants is this checklist. So it's often people really get lost in all the nuts and bolts of applying to a teacher preparation program or applying for a tier 1 or 2 license if they want to go straight into a classroom. And for our teacher preparation programs, each program has its own checklist that the teacher preparation program has identified in the application process. And so this is a way that all of our users can say, okay, I know I want to apply to Hamlin. I know I want to get my undergraduate Bachelor of Arts with a teaching license. Here are all the steps that I need to do. In this, we don't collect any materials for our teacher preparation programs. That all happens through their normal process and portals. But this sort of serves as an online planner, and our system is queued up so that if somebody maybe is stuck on, maybe they didn't submit their additional materials because they don't know how to craft their resume, our system will see that and will follow up and say, would you like to meet with a coach? I see that you're stuck on this. How can we support you? So this is a way that we're really able to track and support applicants throughout their process. We also offer licensure guides. So these are just a bunch of sort of short guides that are really targeted towards different areas of learning, whether it's paying for their teacher programs, getting recommendation letters, guide to tier 2 licensure. If somebody says, I have a master's degree, I've never taught, but I have a master's degree in chemistry and I want to become a chemistry teacher, what does that look like? We can say, all right, here's this. This is a way to sort of begin that process, and they're all free. We also offer event promotions. So this was from earlier this summer, but you can see we promoted a couple events for St. Kate's. And these are constantly being updated on our platform, as well as teacher preparation programs or school districts submit events for prospective teachers. We also offer a scholarship finder. So these are both TeachMN specific, but also sort of whether they're for the state, whether they're district specific or TPP specific. There's a whole sort of financial aid explorer tool available on our website. Another really key piece of our resources is our own financial incentives through TeachMN. So the first thing we offer is a TeachMN scholarship that we give out 3 scholarships a year. They're $1,000 each, and they're for somebody who has recently enrolled in a teacher preparation program or just enrolled after subscribing with TeachMN. And our first 2 one went to a student at Concordia University in St. Paul, and another went to Mankato. And so this has been a really popular resource so far, and one that we hope to continue to grow in future years, just to continue to get more folks in the classroom. And really, these are meant to be incentives towards applying to a program. So the key here is that somebody registers with TeachMN, then hits apply, and then applies for a scholarship or our fee reimbursement, which is the second financial incentive. So we offer, for anybody that has subscribed with TeachMN before they hit submit on an application for a teacher preparation program, we offer up to $100 off their application fee. So that could be, if Hamlin University has a $50 application fee, you can get 100% of that reimbursed. We also understand that sometimes going to a teacher preparation program isn't somebody's path. And so, for example, if they're applying for a tier 1 or tier 2 license through Pelsby, and if you've subscribed to TeachMN first, and then you go on to submit your tier 1 or tier 2 licensure application with Pelsby, TeachMN will cover up to $100 of that licensure cost. There are a couple other nuances with the program. For example, if the program doesn't have a fee, or if you're going through a program that maybe covers your Pelsby application, if there's something else, such as fingerprinting, or maybe it's rides to and from an interview, something like that, for an initial licensure program, TeachMN can cover those costs as well, up to $100. So this is a resource that we just want to be shared far and wide, because it's free money and it supports people through that application process. All right, I'm going to transition into Teach.org's track record. So mostly talking about, so we have all these resources, what has been the impact in other states that we're seeing. But before I do that, I just want to pause and see if anybody has any questions. I know this is a lot so far. All right. Well, continue to add things to the chat. Ooh, I see one come in. I think we're good. Okay. Continue to add things to the chat and or come off mute as we go. So here's a little bit about who we are and what we do. So year over year, uh, we really want to see, our number of supported applicants to teacher preparation programs continue to grow. So here's a chart, a 4-year chart of Teach North Carolina and Colorado, which are just about 4 or 5 years ahead of where Minnesota is. And as you can see, in both regions, the number of supported applicants has more than tripled from their first year. And so in their first year alone, Teach North Carolina supported in the years of 2022 to 2023, excuse me, Teach North Carolina supported almost 2,300 teacher preparation program applicants, and Teach Colorado is about 1,400 applicants, which is a huge number, and you can see just how much that's grown. And so we aspire to have the same impact here in Minnesota, and I can chat about Minnesota specific numbers in a second. Um, and so here are just a few testimonials from our school districts and teacher preparation partners in other regions. These partners include school districts, TPPs, for whom we plan events, conduct surveys, and provide recruitment resources and capacity. And so, you can take a look at these. We are very grateful for the partners that we get to work with, and we aspire to have the same relationships with everybody that we work with here in Minnesota as well. All right, so here's a little bit about our initial progress. So we now have over 18 teacher preparation programs featured on our Explorer tool, with 3 or 4 more in the queue already. We've hosted over 20 one-on-one and group advising sessions. We have 7 guides that address key barriers. We have financial aid Explorer tools. We have 2 recruitment toolkits, which is sort of our take home today that I'll get to in a bit. And we've awarded over $2,000 in scholarships. Our partnerships, we have, I'm so grateful for Aaron and Greg being here today. We have our strong partners within MDE and Pellsby. We have 28 teacher preparation program partners to date, which represent over 80% of the state's programs for licensure. We're very lucky to find partners, for example, in MASA through Lori, as well as MACD in support of the teacher preparation programs, our charter centers. And so we're grateful to be casting a wide net and have so many eager participants programs that were coming alongside. And just a little bit of numbers about our campaign. We have 7.7 million impressions via TV and radio, over 1 million donated media value. We see our digital ads on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Google search, and job boards. We have over 20,000 unique web visits and over 2.6 thousand aspiring teacher subscribers, and that number is growing every month. And so we are extremely grateful for sort of the interest that we've seen so far, and we really anticipate this to continue to take off. So when we say that, we're building this bank of subscribers, already with our partnership work, we have over 3,000 or just shy of 3,000 people that we're connecting with, and that number will only continue to grow, especially in this first year and our years continuing. And so that's who we're looking to pull into jobs in your districts and into our teacher preparation programs and pathways. So in thinking about what your next steps might be if you would like to leverage TeachMN's resources in support of your HR teams and open positions in your district, TeachMN offers a free digital toolkit for school districts, which will be available to you following this presentation. And so I'm just going to take a minute to go over what's in the toolkit, how your district personnel, particularly your HR teams, and or college or career counselors can utilize these low lift resources. So I want to emphasize low lift. There's nothing worse than saying, all right, if you want to partner with us, here's the laundry list of things you need to do. Instead, these are sort of like a take and go thing that should be really easy to implement. So this is the start of what the toolkit looks like. And pages 1 through 3 offer just a quick recap of what you've already heard. These are who we are, who we serve, and what we offer. So you're here, but there's so many people on your teams that haven't been able to make this presentation today. And so this is an easy way to sort of boil that down for your teams. Pages 3 to 4 serve as a menu for copy, images, and marketing that your district can utilize for their recruitment efforts. The most important thing here to note is that the most work that these require of your staff would just to be to sort of insert your district name when applicable and do sort of some of like the copying or printing or putting into an email itself, but otherwise everything else is there. It's meant to be a turnkey resource and not an additional add-on. So some of these examples of things that you might be able to use, as I mentioned, we have these interest surveys for non-licensed school staff and high school students. So these are surveys to send out to these pockets of people to gauge their interest in joining the teaching profession. And an anecdote for this is last year in Colorado, 9 districts used this survey to determine who amongst their staff could be teachers that they might need. And across those 9 districts, 428 non-licensed staff members responded, 90% of whom expressed some significant interest in teaching, 74% expressed an interest in teaching a shortage area subject, more than a third already have a bachelor's degree, and more than a third identify as a person of color, a percentage that is more than twice the state's current percentage of educators of color. So this is a really important way for both your district teams and us to gauge who might be out there that's wanting to teach, especially that's already sort of in a school's orbit, but might just be wondering, how do I go from being a reserve teacher or a paraprofessional or a long-term sub to becoming a licensed teacher? And so from there, we're able to share the data with you that comes out of this survey, and then we're really able to work with you on crafting the best approach to get all of those folks that might have interest into a program or into a position where they're able to begin teaching. We also offer lots of email and social media copy and images. And so you can advertise these free resources alongside your existing recruitment messages. And you can also use them to stand alone to boost momentum towards getting your teacher licensure. And this is a way that you can say, we have these open jobs in the district. If you apply with TeachMN, and then, feel free, you're going to have the cost of your PALSB application for a tier 1 or tier 2 license toward this position covered. There's ways that you can really use our resources to incentivize folks and guide folks throughout the process of either filling your positions or becoming a licensed teacher in the next step of filling those open positions. We also find that placing teach resources on your website is a highly effective and passive way to support applicants in becoming licensed teachers within your district. We just encourage folks, we have the link placement and copy all set to go for you. And this is a way for somebody who's already sort of looking at what are the open positions? How do I navigate this? They're able to use our resources in tandem with their search process. And not everything that you see in the toolkit has to live within the digital world. We also offer print assets to use and print out as you see fit. So whether these are flyers that you have in staff lounges, or you want to use at recruitment fairs, or if you want to nominate somebody, you say like, write a personal message if I think you'd be a great teacher, all of those are available to use. So that is a snapshot of what we offer districts. But as I mentioned in the beginning, we are not sort of a one size fits all. So it would be wonderful to sort of connect with you all going forward on how we can really partner for your specific district needs. And before we get into any of that, there will be a bunch of time for questions at the end. I wanted to offer, here is the QR code. If you would like to scan it, this is a way that you can take home that TeachMN toolkit that I just shared today. And so I know Lori's also recording this, so you'll be able to send it out to staff that way. And Lori, if it works, I will send you a copy of this presentation as well to send out to folks. And so I'll leave this up for just a second, but this is a way for you to just take and go from what you've heard today. And here are some suggested next steps. So first, we at TeachMN would love to stay in touch with you following this presentation to learn how we can tailor our resources to your needs. If you'd like to meet with me one-on-one or connect me with someone on your HR teams or in your college or career counseling centers, the QR code on the right here is a link to my Calendly. I would love to meet with you and just continue this relationship and conversation. And from there, we also have a few just sort of suggested action items from this call. One, we're continuing to build this resource for financial aid grants opportunities on our website. And so if you have any that are specific to your district, please send them my way and I'll make sure we get them up on the website. Suggested deadline by November 7th, but I will take them at any time. We also suggest that you implement at least 3 strategies from the toolkit within your district by December 1st. So this could be just sending out an email. It could be placing something on your website. It could be printing out flyers for your school hallways. We also recommend by December 1st, if you're able, to send out the survey tool, and we can continue to start our work that way for how we can support potentially some of your non-licensed staff or high school students in becoming a teacher. And let me take a
Angela, could you put the QR code back up for the toolkit as well?
absolutely.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you. And that's all I have. So I would love Greg and Aaron, if there's anything else you would like to add, and I would love to hear from other folks on the call if what questions you might have or anything of that sort.
I have a question, Angela, around the conversations that you've been having. What are districts finding with this? I mean, I know you gave some suggestions, but are there strategies that seem to be working better? Like, are you tapping people on the shoulder? Are you having a personal invitation? Are you having people come together in the district? Just kind of what
Yeah.
are you seeing?
It's a great question, Lori. And it's a little bit of a two-part question, in part because we launched in April and so much of our summer was really sort of getting the nuts and bolts from teacher preparation programs on our website. And so now we're sort of turning to begin our school district work. And so I would say in these beginning conversations, it's been I think one of the best sort of points of entry is connecting with someone in the district who will connect me to HR teams. I think that's been a really crucial point of contact. And then in other regions, what we see with district work has really been both, especially for more rural districts, like that in-person touch point is great. So if and as there are district events that Teach can come alongside and join in person, I always find value in those conversations. And we've seen that in regions across the country. But otherwise, I think it's just sort of continued conversation with any person in a district that might have ideas on how we can support their recruitment process. And so I think just continued conversation has been really key to develop that relationship and then really develop the process of being able to tailor our strategies to a district need, if that answers your question.
It does. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lori.
Yeah.
Lori, I think I can also just kind of add, I don't think Teach in and of itself, I mean, for some candidates to become teachers or people who are interested in teaching, I think Teach will provide a bridge from being interested to actually being in a teacher preparation pathway. But I'm going to speak not just from Teach, but like from all the workforce initiatives that our team does. I think it's most effective when an individual is identified who might be interested in becoming a teacher, or a principal or a superintendent or an HR person knows would become a good teacher. Teach then becomes a tool where you could sit down or someone could sit down one-on-one with that person and have a conversation and use the Teach tools to really talk about pathways into teaching. I think it's a one-stop shop also to coach people and then connect people with the Teach coaches. So I think it's about identifying people who are interested in teaching and would be good teachers. And then, as Angela shared, there's one-on-one coaching, but we see a lot of like individual coaching of districts, of their community members or internal staff or high school students, grooming them up into becoming future teachers.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Anybody else? Any
I was
questions?
going to say, any questions from anyone else? I appreciate the opportunity to have my questions answered. All right. Well, we thank you for being here with us today. Thanks for sharing the slide deck. I know Dave will share that with folks later this week, probably. I'm not going to commit him to today. And Angela, if you would share your slide deck with me, he'll include that in the resources. Thanks so much for being here. We hope everybody has a great day.
Sure thing. Thank you so much, Lori. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Take care.